We keep talking about how rough it is for recruiting, so let's talk to a headhunter. Today, an interview with Mark Sasson of Pinpoint, who talks to us about the landscape right now. This is a bonus episode of The Business of Tech. I'm really interested in understanding both how headhunters work and a little bit about the market. So I think it's best, let's start from the basics. So tell me what it is that you do as a headhunter.
Sure. So our firm is specifically focused on recruiting on behalf of cybersecurity vendors, and more specifically, early to mid-stage startups. We recruit mostly in the go-to-market functions. So that means sales, field engineering, customer success, and marketing. And we recruit at the VP, director, and senior individual contributor levels.
Gotcha. So how would you say that relationship works when it's at its best? Like what's a great client set of expectation and what can you deliver in that best working relationship?
Best working relationship is a scenario where there's an urgent need. You send us to go window shopping for candidates. It's going to be a little difficult for us to perform. So there's got to be an urgent need. There's got to be specific qualities that organizations are looking for. And we need to be able to do our job. So for example, if organizations will say, hey, we've got 3 or 4 recruiters working on this one specific search, that's not an ideal scenario, because if the recruiters are worth their salt, they're going after the same exact target pool candidates that we would. And it doesn't put us in a winning situation. And quite frankly, it doesn't put the organization in a winning situation.
My understanding is that there are 3 basic engagement options. Can you is that right? And can you walk me through what those are?
I would say there are probably a lot more than 3 basic engagement options. What you might see in the world today, especially from what I'm exposed to, are retainers, which are going to be a scenario where an organization pays some sort of upfront fee to engage the search firm, and then the balance of the fee is going to be paid upon completion of the search. That's simplifying it. That's retained search. There's contingent search, which is a recruiter is sent to go and do a mission and is paid upon success. And then there's something what we call exclusive contingent. That's how we operate. We don't require upfront fees as of today from our clients, but we do require 30 days exclusivity, meaning you're not going to engage other recruiters on the same exact search that you've got us engaged on.
That makes sense. So how would someone choose one? Like what are kind of the pros and the cons for if I'm a hiring manager or I'm a business owner and I'm thinking about engaging that, how should I choose the way that I engage?
If you just want people to just fire out resumes to you, undiscriminated, you just want your pick of the litter and then you go and run the recruitment process, maybe a contingent search would be best for you. There's less involved. You're not going to get a ton of commitment from the recruiter, but you may get 3 or 4 recruiters that send you enough resumes that you can maybe sift through and call the people that you want to talk to. On a retained or even an exclusive contingent model, there's more skin in the game for both the employer and the recruiter. Ultimately speaking, part of why we like the exclusivity is that we reach out to the market in an open fashion. So a lot of times contingent recruiters, pure contingent recruiters, they're not going to say, hey, I'm recruiting for X organization. They're going to say, hey, we're recruiting for a cybersecurity company. They've done this, this, and this, and we want to talk to you about it. And in our case, we are essentially extending the marketing arm of our clients by engaging the target candidate pool who in the startup world is probably not heard of our client. So we're putting a lot of awareness out there. We're having conversations. We're vetting the candidates very closely, and we're ensuring we're not wasting hiring managers' time by engaging with people that aren't going to be a fit.
So this seems like a really interesting time to be talking about recruiting because on the show, I've been reporting a lot about the Great Resignation or the Great Reevaluation or the Great Transition or whatever we want to call what's going on right now. And it feels like with 40 to 60% of employees supposedly looking for a new job right now. This feels like a really chaotic time to be in this space. What are you seeing right now in terms of, employees shifting around and availability of labor out in the market?
There is quite a bit of motivation to at least explore opportunities right now. Again, my focus is primarily on the cybersecurity space. So a lot of what you're going to get is that. And so what you're seeing in cybersecurity right now is you've got PE firms acquiring several significant shops. Not sure, Dave, if you want me to be vendor agnostic and mention names right now or
Oh,
not,
you can name names.
yeah. So I mean, you look at the ForcePoint acquisition by Vista Partners. Everybody left. I mean, it was a mass exodus, and maybe that was planned. That may have been a strategy. You look at the merger of FireEye and McAfee right now into Trellix, and there's a lot of uncertainty for certain employees. So those scenarios create a reason for people at least to take a call from someone like me. There's also a lot of growth in the marketplace. So we record every funding round and acquisition that we can identify on a monthly basis. And last year we recorded 300 cybersecurity vendors receiving funding to the tune of about $20 billion. So there's a lot of new noise in the market. These organizations need to hire. And obviously, in a scenario where maybe certain companies aren't changing as quickly to meet the new standard of work, there's gonna be people willing to take those calls.
So what's the biggest challenge out there right now in terms of meeting the demand from employers to find this top security talent?
It's simply that there's not enough people, skilled and experienced people, to do the job. Maybe people want to do the job, but a lot of times, especially with the clients we represent, they need people that can jump right in, plug and play, because they're startups. They don't have time to go and train. They don't have the resources to go and train. And so just like I referenced, 300 startups got funding last year, another 40 in the first 2 months that I've counted so far this year. I read a report where cybersecurity is going to grow from about 160 billion in 2021 to 340 billion in 2027. So you've got that level of growth, you've got the innovation and the funding taking place, and you've got what they call the talent shortage or the talent gap that has been really pretty well known in cybersecurity. And although that's fallen from about 3 billion open jobs to roughly 2.7 billion, the pace at which the growth is happening, I don't know if we can maintain reducing that gap. So all those things considered, that's presenting obviously a supply and demand type challenge.
Okay, so the obvious answer for me in a supply demand, of course, is that the prices shoot up, right? That would be how you immediately think of that. Is that what's actually happening? Is it just salaries are shooting up, or are people looking at this more holistically? Like, what are the people you're talking to, the potential employees looking for?
Compensation is going up. That's just a natural component of what's happening here. I'm not an economist, but I took economics, intro to economics in college. You've got the supply and demand chart. That's what you have. But ultimately, with the people we work with, there's a realization that there's a lot more at stake, in the sense that if they can get in with an organization that's truly innovating, and there are equity components with the vast majority of companies we work with, that's part of it. Having a seat at the table at some of these smaller companies, being able to influence, grow from a career perspective where maybe someone's been stagnant for 10, 15 years because there's been no room for growth at their organizations. There's a lot to it beyond compensation. So that's something we do talk about with candidates when we're discussing opportunities, but it's more than that. People are human beings. They've got drives and aspirations, and that's something that you can really key into, which hopefully employers will take into consideration as well.
In that list you just rattled off was not any discussion of location or remote work. Is that a factor? Is it a factor because everyone's remote and they're not worrying about it, or is it a factor that they're insisting? Like, how does that play in both in the priorities and the way employers are offering positions?
Yeah, remote work. And so it's funny because remote work has been a component of the industry I've served, maybe not as much as now, but it's been a big component for a long time, even before COVID. A lot of the people we dealt with have been in the sales capacities, channels, marketing, customer success. You don't always need to be in the office. That said, people that I know that I recruit for that used to require their employees to come into the office, they're not making that requirement anymore. Now it's like, hey, wherever they are. So sometimes it's good to have people in the office. It's good to have people at headquarters to get things done. But I'm seeing way less of a demand to have people on site than I did before.
How much of a struggle is it to get in touch with all that top talent? Like, are they just completely accessible right now for the open conversation, or is it a struggle? Like, what's your sense of the market?
It's always a struggle. You know, part of our challenge as a recruiting firm is that because there's so much demand, there's so many people like me making so much noise. And sometimes those individuals don't necessarily approach it in the most professional way possible. So if people don't know who we are, Pinpoint, then maybe they don't pick up that phone because they see us as just another one of those recruiters. Fortunately, we've got a pretty good reputation, track record of success. So for us, we are getting those callbacks, we are getting those conversations, but it's always a struggle. You're always, when it comes to top talent, they know they're in demand, and there needs to be a compelling value proposition to reach out to them.
All right, so I'm going to make you the master of your domain on this, and I'm going to give you my magic wand. Now, I have a crazy magic wand in my office because it doesn't work all places. In this case, it only works on potential employers, and you get to the people that are hiring, and you get to wave the magic wand and make one change to the way that they're engaging. What would you change to make the process in your role as a headhunter better if I gave you that magic wand?
I wrote a blog recently about this subject that we're talking about, and one of the things I highlight is changing the mindset from hiring to recruiting. This could be synonymous for a lot of people, but I believe in mindset. I believe that words matter, and if you're saying, "Hey, we're hiring," that's something where you're more passively saying, "We're going to bring someone on and give them money for a certain job." Whereas recruiting is, by definition, securing the services of. You're recruiting somebody to play football, to go to the military. You have to entice them in certain ways to get them there. And so shifting that mindset and then following up by comparing this as a company, and I think every company has this problem, you're competing with other organizations in your space. You're going head to head with those companies. And you're probably creating marketing plans, messaging, go to market strategies. You've got a liaison, which may be a sales rep or somebody else, going back and forth, making sure everybody's happy and aligned. And a lot of times that's not there with recruitment. It's more ad hoc. It's, hey, send me some resumes. And so being prepared to create that messaging, having a hiring process that really matters, where stakeholders are involved, everybody has something specific to talk about, to interview for, a specific message to send to those top talent candidates. Going into this like a go to market or sales campaign, that's what you've got to do. You've got to compete for talent. You're in the knife fight right now.
It's interesting that you bring up thinking about it like a sales and marketing campaign. I've often heard from those in HR and in recruiting that good employers are constantly looking, even if they don't necessarily have a short-term need. What's your take on that style of approach? Is that best, bad, pitfalls? Where's your take?
That depends. Obviously, you can be looking all the time and make strategic hires. Again, with the type of clients I work with, budgets are constrained. They're not profitable. No startup in this industry is profitable as far as I know, or very few are, I should say. I shouldn't say no. But you've got to make strategic decisions on where you're going to allocate headcount and budget for that headcount. So it's always good to be looking for the rock star, but most of my clients are hiring as needed, that based on their business plan for the quarter or the year.
Thanks for listening to this bonus episode of The Business of Tech. If you like it, hit the like button and hit that red subscribe button. It really does make a difference, and I appreciate you taking the time to listen to what I'm doing. You want to discuss more? Want to find out more about the interview? Go ahead and put something in the comments. I read them all, and I look forward to the ongoing discussion. If you want to get content like this every single day, the 5-minute Business of Tech podcast is available wherever fine podcasts are found. Go to businessof.tech, click the blue subscribe button. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Additionally, if you want to help me with the content that I create, you can support me directly. Go to patreon.com/MSP Radio and click the button there. You choose what the content is worth and get access to these interviews and discussion episodes early. They come out for my Patreons, and Patreons drive the discussion and ask questions directly. Looking forward to ongoing conversations, and thanks for watching.